Collects Reads. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about books that I want to read sooner than later. I was going through my library, cleaning it up, and every one of these books, I stopped to look at the synopsis. You know how you read the synopsis on the back and it just grabs you and you like, you know what, I want to read this now. That was a feeling I got with these books, which I'm like, girl, I am having the hardest time this year getting through my TBR. I think because I'm gonna go on a little bit of tangent. I think because this year I have read so many good books, you guys. Like so far, this has been like my favorite year of reading. 2024. It has put like all the years past to shame. I have read some gems, okay? And I have read out of my comfort zone. That's why it's been so hard getting through this TBR, which it almost makes me think, should I even have a TBR list for next year? Like with me with the TBR, it's almost kind of put it on. I always make it like mandatory, like I have to read these books. Unless when I read it, and if I don't like it, if it's, you know, if I DNF it, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna read a book that I don't want to read. It's not that deep. But I notice with the lists that I always create for the year, it's like I have to read those to make it a priority. And when I don't finish them, you know, kind of get a tiny bit discouraged. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll put it for the next year. So I don't know. I'm still kind of thinking I should just not do that and kind of see how that feels. And just picking up books when I want to pick them up, I think I might enjoy that a little bit better, but I digress. So let me just show you the books that, again, I want to read sooner than later in my collection. Okay, so the first, this author, hands down, one of my favorites. I talk about her all the time, and it is Diane McKinney Whetstone. This is Lazaretto. I was so geeked when I got this because I wanted it, and I went to a used bookstore, and I got it for $8. And it's so crazy. Her writing is fantastic. Love her stories. I've read about 5 of her books, and every story is different. And you can't find a lot of her works in, you know, big bookstores like a Barnes and Noble or Books a Million. A lot of times I've gotten them from used bookstores. A lot of times I have to go online like a Amazon or thriftbooks.com. In this case, I've gone to a used bookstore and I found it, which is, it was like a rarity. So that's why when I saw this, I almost like screamed, because this is the one I wanted to read next of hers. Father's transgression is unforgettable. He has already arranged to take the baby, so it falls to Sylvia, the midwife, tell that the child is dead, a lie that would define the course of 2 women. That already just grabs me, and I want to know what is going to happen. And with her writing too, she throws a curveball where you don't expect it, because the story is not predictable, and she's in that league. Next is And So I Roar by Abi Dare. This was my anticipated read for this year, which I know I am going to read this before the year ends because, again, it was anticipated read. And I really wanted to read this book because it is a sequel to The Girl with the Louding Voice. And I just love the story of the main character, Aduni, I believe. She was a young girl that really wanted to go to school, very smart. She was sold as a, like a wife or something, like a teenage wife. She ends up, you know, getting out of that situation, but goes to work as a servant to a woman that is horrible, but she really just wants to seek education, and through the help of another person, she, you know, is able to kind of do that. And I always wanted to know what was her, like, what was the aftermath. Even though with The Girl with the Lighting Voice, you do get closure, and even if she didn't do a sequel to, you know, The Girl with the Lighting Voice, it'll been fine. It will be fine. But the fact that she did is just like, the more the merrier. And I love the cover. It's so pretty. Next is a new book that I just got. I think I showed you guys when I went to Barnes and Noble when they were having their recent sale. Was like 50% off of hardcover books, selected hardcover books. It is The House of Doors by Twain, I believe. And this is a historical fiction novel. And I wanted to get it because it actually is talking about the author. He's a real life man. His name was Willie Somerset Mahim, I believe. I know I'm saying that wrong. But he was a writer during the 1920s, I believe. And he was a closeted homosexual. He had to clearly hide that, and they said he had a wife that he just didn't treat right. But all his life, he did struggle with his sexuality. He is one of the characters in the book, and he has gone to visit his two friends to get inspiration for another book. And he brings along his friend. And yes, but while he is, getting information for his book and living in the house of his friends, the wife and him, they become close because I think she has some skeletons in her closet, and she tells him about it, and it looks like he is going to kind of take her story and, write about it, make it kind of fiction. So yeah, it's set in the 1920s. I'm really excited about this one, and I love the cover. It's so pretty. Next is Piper Huguley, By Her Own Design. This is also another historical fiction novel. Now, I read her latest book. It also was an anticipated read for me. It was American Daughters, and it was talking about Alice Roosevelt and Portia Washington's friendship. They were the daughters of Teddy Roosevelt and Booker T. Washington. And when I tell you that was such a great story, she knows how to write historical fiction. And after reading American Daughters, I'm like, yes, I want to pick up this. And also, this is about a real life woman named Anne Lowe. I do know a little bit about Anne Lowe. She was a fashion designer. She is the one that designed Jackie Kennedy Onassis wedding gown, and she's the one that said, when they asked her, who is your designer, she said some colored woman. And she also like designed some of like the old Hollywood, dresses that like for the Oscars and, things like that. I know she was a child bride, raised in Alabama, of course, during, Jim Crow. Oh, and they said he was an abusive alcoholic. Yeah, can't wait to read this. And lastly, this book came out this year. It is Blessings. I'm not even gonna try to say this author's name. I do know he is Nigerian, I believe, and it's a debut novel. First of all, the cover. I've showed you guys this before. This came out this year too. I remember going on Goodreads and seeing this, and the cover just got me. I was like, what is this about? Then when I read the synopsis, I was like, oh yeah, I know I'm getting it. It's about a young man. He comes from a religious, background. His father sees him kissing a young man, and he just can't take that. So he sends him to an all boys boarding school where they believe they can, heal him from his, ways, basically. And yeah, that's all I know. And also, too, it has a blurb by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and it simply just says, beautiful. And you guys know how much I love Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She is one of my favorite African writers of like all time. So I'm like biased anytime when I see she like has her name on a book or is really vouching for it, I will get it. That's how much I love that author. But again, it sounds really good. The cover is just so pretty. It makes you want to like display the book. So yeah, guys, that is it when it comes to some books in my collection that I do want to read soon. These books, I have a feeling that I really will enjoy them and at least give them, 3 to 4 stars. Yeah, guys, again, that's all I have for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more Black books.